Get out.
But what about...
Get out, get some help. You can't get this off me by yourself. Get out, Jim. Get out.
Look, I understand that much bigger places than Leroy have been hit, but you gotta help us. What do you mean tomorrow? Listen, just tell me.
Look, Mac's a big boy. He can take care of himself. There's no reason to panic.
We should go home. I mean, that's right, though. If I couldn't find you, she's right.
You two go home. I'll stay here just in case he shows up.
No, you guys go home. I can stay here and take care of somebody injured. You just find Mac.
Got it.
Fort Wayne. Oh, I was just in Fort Wayne. Drove through it. 7 a.m. is the earliest you can move. These motherfuckers need a wake-up call at 6:30. Sugar Bush Farms, everybody. Check it out.
The building is coming down.
Trying to figure out my way.
Yeah, we just tolerated a 4-hour live stream of nothing. I just happened to get it at that moment before it gets
Right
erased.
here. Hey, Liberty. Hey, Andy.
We're learning how to drive.
Hey, Leslie.
Renee, Steve, Jane. You boys
See,
can
I'm just moved here, right? Not too long ago.
You just moved there.
Different routes out to get to my house. You know?
John.
This is the back.
Look, there's meteorites everywhere.
Alright. Let's see. Hopefully this don't take me around in a circle, probably.
That's the idea.
I know. No, I don't.
Remember that?
Thought I could move around.
What's the rest of the town?
What street is
That's
this?
pretty good. Folks are hurt.
Sugar Bush.
What the hell are you doing here? Well, right now I'm trying to figure out a way to get you sorry butt out of here before we both get killed. The fuck so Tom? Could be seriously hurt. I'm not going anywhere. We'll see about that. Oh, get the hell out of here, Tom. Not without you. I'm going to get the car changed. Tom! I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if we're going to build a monument to use it to sake of her.
That's a cul-de-sac.
It's all about meteorites.
Let's see.
Miss Johnson.
You know, once people go into these video games to drive around, it's all over for them. I mean, their life just completely changes.
Damn it, I'm lost. Here I was trying to do a good day. Now I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Oh my god, another appliance out here. What the hell is this? It's a dryer.
Whatever.
I'm telling you, people in this area just buy new stuff and leave the old stuff out. I got a chair and a dresser, all for free this weekend. From people just, okay, Sycamore. How do I know this street? Let me look. Okay. Look. I just figured it out. Yeah, okay, I know where we're at now.
Thank God you're safe.
Woo! Closer than it needed to be. Thanks.
Right. Let's get back to the movie. 1998. Meteorites.
I'm gonna take you to my house. And then
TV
tell me I don't
movie.
go to your house.
WHS
Mrs. Johnson,
RIP.
that's you. What are they doing?
I need to put my trash. It's terrible.
Where's the damn car? This one. Right, well, keys.
Right, we got
Which key?
So anyway,
We got these kids ripping off this dude's house that had him rip it off to get the money.
kind of over everything.
Meteorites are falling down everywhere.
About messing with me.
First of all, different things that wasn't before. Oh my god, dude! I
Right.
need to round up.
Mom just tased him.
Terrible.
Go for it, I dare you.
Well, Mom, way to go.
Oh,
It's a lot of work taking care of my house.
okay.
It's a lot of work. It's never easy. Like,
They were gonna kill her son.
here she goes again. Gotta do it again.
And his girlfriend on there deflowering
I
night.
need to take some water. I gotta get water.
It's a nightmare.
Good news is you
I
didn't
bought
break
Dollar
anything.
General.
Bad news
What the
is
fuck is open? Am I looking dead? Probably because I've been
you
like
built
vinegar. Use vinegar on what? The grass? Really? Does that work?
Son, where have you been?
Vinegar on what? I just got like, right
you
around
don't want to know.
like
You gotta love that new computer hairdo mode.
kill the weeds around there. And around the
Where are the
fence in
radar
backyard.
reports? I want them now.
Hold on, Mr. Sample.
This way.
I've been doing a little research on some old friends.
Why are you doing this? Get the state disaster management on the phone, if we still have phones.
How long does it take?
See if you can get
This is a meteorite movie featuring one of them.
Dr. Blake, get hold of the Klotzer Planetarium. Ask for Dr. Berkeley. I need to know his estimation of the comet's timeline. Do
I
it
haven't
now.
gotten to it yet. And I'm gonna get a new one for 3 more months. He goes,
It's going
first
pretty
month, second
good.
month,
If you have family,
and I think 6th month it changes.
I'll tell you what,
be with them.
I just
it'd be
haven't changed it. I haven't changed
it'd be the
picture yet.
wildest
Somebody
book anybody ever heard.
Is he really green? Or are we gonna do the
I mean,
Tracking the comet.
otherwise it's the biggest nightmare nobody ever know, huh?
That way I can see.
No, everything's good, thank you. How are you?
I can't see. Like Nikki's right now, I can't see it all.
Nice quiet weekend.
Is that a VIP? Yeah,
Okay, you're the experts.
it's hard for me to tell.
Can't see. It's gonna get worse.
Yeah, see, why are you asking these questions like you don't? I'm kind of like, it's the same gig here. Everybody in any channel you join gets a monthly subscription.
Oops.
You know, once you monthly subscribe, you can cancel it at any time.
It's gonna make us have to solve part of it like
Which tonight is panel night for VIPs. We're doing an open panel. Anyone can come up and share the stage with me or whoever very best. Which would be fun, up to 6 people. I don't know. It's all right there on the panel. Like, I don't get it. People ask me. I know.
Well, okay, so how about you?
I'm gonna go subscribe to fucking Morgan's channel page just to be in it.
We got problems. That's the bad
I mean, that's big. Bitch. Better be having some VIP shit on there.
If we don't do something, a lot more people are going to get hurt.
You're lucky telling people you don't
I need to get a case of water. So I bought a case of water from Dollar General. I was like, it's this brand. Sulfur Valley purified water. Disgusting. It tastes like plastic. It's a little cheap and flimsy, dude.
It's huge.
But the water tastes like plastic. I can't stand that.
Great idea. Well, how are you going to get all these people out there? That reminds me. Look at this. Watch this.
Oh, come on. What are you doing?
You gotta
Your
burn your
turn
ID.
signals suck, retard.
Find this experience.
He didn't even use his turn signals. Down there waiting on the whole time.
Are you telling me we're really broke?
God, I
I got so triggered this morning, too.
Let's see if that's
Oh my God,
working.
you guys.
See me as a pauper. We're the Cassidys, for God's sake. We represent this town. We are legal.
You know, them Black Lives Matter groups or whatever, they're out there fucking off.
Crystal, this
Man,
town
I'm
is
about
your
over
nation.
it. Over it. I don't give a fuck who is offended. Good. Get the fuck off my
I knew you
page.
were
You
there.
offend
You
me.
know what those men need.
You're on my YouTube channel.
Black Lives motherfucking
Meech and the
matter
Broadband.
shit, whatever.
Got me hijacked.
Was arguing with some white chick in her car. These Mexicans were behind me and filmed the whole thing.
Isn't she
And they
prejudiced?
did get out and help her.
She's always squawking about somebody.
This big black bitch was trying to beat up on this white girl, right?
Oh, Lord have
Grabs her
mercy.
little bitty dog out of the car by the collar, takes it and starts going like this, hits her with the dog and everything. That'd have been a dead motherfucker if that was me. I would have ran her fucking ass over. Dude, I'm glad this ain't happening to me, and I'd be dead by now. I would be dead by now. Katie's life matter. My son's lives matter. Other than that, you all can fucking die for all I care. Really, I'm just over it.
I've spoken with
Took
this
her
after
dog. It's on my Facebook page, you guys. I reposted it to my Facebook page. I started looking for more information, and then new videos started popping up on it.
It's a break in
Got
the
me
stream.
triggered as
It's
fuck.
gonna
I
get
was like,
worse.
I
We
gotta
don't
get
have
away
much
from
time.
this. I gotta get the fuck away from this right now. I'm gonna go on a full-blown rant this morning and get shit shut down.
They have instructed
Like, I can't.
everyone here.
I don't give a
You
fuck.
need to
Don't
get
be a
shut
racist,
down.
man. Fuck Black Lives Matter. They're a terrorist organization. Fuck them.
So are you.
Fuck them all. I will repeat myself. I'll say it again.
That arrow.
Fuck Black Lives Matter. It's a hate group right now. It's just like the KKK and any fucking thing else that's out there. All they're doing is causing fucking problems.
Crystal,
That's it.
you're staying with me.
At first, they had a good little thing going, and now they're just a terrorist
Let's say that
operation.
with Matt.
They're out there terrorizing anybody and anything.
They were white people funded, you
Breaking
fool.
down buildings, shit like that, not working. God forbid they get a job. Why did the food stamp office
You know
work
she
out
works
yet?
for the
Yeah, I
same
didn't
group.
think so. Why did the welfare office fucking vandalize yet? Didn't think so. Have to get your fucking checks, don't you? Fuck them. While we're out here working, doing whatever the fuck, hustling, trying to make ends meet, they're out there protesting. Fucking money, don't they? Fuck that. I don't give a fuck who's offended. CBS is open 24-hour terrorist now. I've seen a 24-hour CBS. They used to all be, and now they're not. And like that, whatever the fuck that is, they can just go and fucking die too. I don't care. I don't give a shit. What if we did something like White Lives Matter? Oh, then we're racist. Why think it's time we start promoting White Lives Matter? Fucking Mexicans, get on your game. Mexican Lives Matter. Let's just everybody everywhere. May the most powerful win. And we already know who's gonna win that, but let's just do this. Full on throttle at this point. Right, people? I'm locked and loaded. Let's just have a full on race.
No, you haven't heard of him.
I mean, and you know what?
Let me
There's gonna
give
be
you a little
some
more intel.
Black people who are gonna be like, this is stupid and fight for us. And you know what? Good for them. May they survive with us. You know what I'm saying? It's the fucking dumbass one out there. Can't stand it, dude. Eating up on dogs, elderly people. Like, what the fuck? You're a bad enough. You're on the plantation. Never. You never were. In fact, I ain't gonna say it. I'm getting triggered. I'm so triggered. I can't stand this shit. I really can't. It bothers me in my core. We were all living our lives and shit, and then this whole. I mean, don't get
And
me
you
wrong,
ripped
I
me
know
off
that
$7
there's been
grand.
times where
Stole my channel.
Black people have been
You tried to kill me.
Guess what? It happens to all of us.
No,
Happens
it
to all
doesn't,
of us.
witchy poo.
Plain and simple. Think this is racist? Then get the fuck off my page. Get the fuck off of my channel, off of my Facebook page, off of my Instagram. I don't give a shit.
True. It's true, Adam.
Wake up earlier.
How do we get to the
Okay? Life begins at 4 in the morning. By 7 o'clock, I've already lived 4 lifetimes.
Why is everybody wrong that you died? We
Yeah,
haven't gotten the answers.
close, guys.
I think
What
my
do you guys
start.
think? Report away, bitch. Report away. If y'all were gonna get me off of YouTube, it would have happened a long time ago when I was literally screaming.
Oh, no, Daddy, we'll leave that to you.
You've been scamming on YouTube, Mel, for over a decade.
These RVs ain't gonna cut it. We gotta load everybody up into 4-wheel drives, vans,
Yeah.
pickups, make sure you secure it. It's gonna be 5 very rough miles.
What time do they open?
Remember, the truck's
7?
still going. Like,
Okay, 10 minutes. I can wait. 10
Keep each other safe.
don't worry about that.
minutes, guys. We can wait. And the only reason you fucks are triggered is because you know what
I'm
saying.
gonna say
That's
yes.
exactly why you're all worked up. Because when Katie makes sense, and all of a sudden signatures. Hey, Green Eyes. Good morning, Brenda. For your shirt today. The orange one. Wear this tomorrow. I don't know if the dog's okay. It was a little bitty pup. You gotta go check it out on my face. I don't know. I couldn't find any other information on it. Hey, Pie Cutie. The clerk's in here. It's water from the fucking gas station. Everyone's crowding around the door. Don't do it. Honestly, don't do it. It ruined my fucking morning. I have to get him moved now. Serious? This is too far. Gas station.
No.
So you bring us all the way out here. Now we can't even get in the line.
Go on, buddy. Oh, man. Now you got us halfway here. Oh, this dude's going to be slow about getting there. Here's the thing. Right here by this busy intersection, if you're trying to get out of any of these fast food, like Kroger or whatever, you got to go when you get that opportunity or you'll be stuck here for ages. Go, man. You're shitting me. You so could have went like 10 times. Go.
You're right, there is.
Push you out into the street.
Yeah, where's the explosives? What? This is a mine. You have explosives, people. Where is it?
You're wasting it, Brett. When we close the mine, we got rid of the dynamite.
Look, you're there right there.
People.
I got some fireworks in my trunk. It's a fireworks from the festival. We never set them off.
Let's take a look.
Holy smoke, Whit. You could have got us all killed carrying this much stuff. By zero.
Actually, I have a new video of Mr. whomever it is. I'll show it to you. Let me go check into the movie.
Look at his eye.
Right now, I'm kind of glad he has it.
Whit,
Oh, and this
don't
guy
have much time. I
definitely
need a
had a
big
look
favor.
at his
What's that, Tom?
eye.
I gotta blow up your truck.
You sure you gotta do this? I treated this truck better than I did my ex-wife.
That's why she's your ex-wife. All right. We need all these trucks cleared out of here. Way back. It's gonna be okay. I just gotta make sure that I back the truck far enough into the rocks that the explosion makes it clear. You want me to do it, Dad? I mean, I'm younger. I can get up the truck faster. Think so, huh? Look, Mac, even if you weren't my son, I tell so you know. I know how these explosives work, and I won't take a chance on anyone else's life. I'll be out of that truck before it hits the rocks.
He's a stunt man, an actor, and a
Trust me on this,
singer.
Kat. You need that.
I trust you, Tom. It's just that I'm scared. That's all.
I'm scared too.
And pretty
Think about
magical.
you and the kids.
Well, you think hard.
Either that, or I just don't know who anybody is. Yeah, I'd be glad to show it to you. I'm watching them over here right now. I just came back to be on this side of the screen.
Light it, kids.
Here he goes. He's gonna blow shit up. Hang on. But to save people. Yeah, tell us he's alive this time. There he is.
Kids, you do it, Daddy. Hey, everybody, come on, in the mine!
Thank God.
Parents love me, not that they watch me. Parents just watch me to get triggered.
Come on.
With a broken filter.
Hilda, call the planetarium and make sure we're not in for any more surprises.
Now in the fall time, yeah, I'll probably, I need to go to like Brown County and shit. You're not that far, so there's that Rush place. I'm gonna try that Rush restaurant. It's Chicago style food. Okay? Sounds delicious. Their menu looks delicious.
Is everything
But hell,
good?
Mommy, that's fucking hot. My car will probably catch on fire way there. It's too hot.
Hey, Johnny.
Of course.
Hey, morning, everybody. Let's see. Roof, 4 walls, no big holes in the ground. Doesn't look like you sustained much damage.
No, we're pretty lucky.
Good. Glad to see someone was.
Look like you're getting around a little better.
Yeah. Just the man I need to talk to.
Why, you got another disaster you need some help with?
Actually, yeah. Town council sent me out. They cast him down as mayor to take care of his personal problems. They wanted me to ask you if you would step in as temporary mayor. They could use some of that cool, calm, level-headedness.
Cool, calm, level-headed.
I got your sheriff
She ain't
badge.
talking about my dad. There's a lot more junk out there with your name on it. Funny man.
He's already got his own.
Why don't you take the job as temporary mayor? You're a lot more suited to it than I am.
Nah, I got my hands full as is.
No,
Well, tell him I'll come down and talk to him. I'm not making any promises, but I'll help out any way I can.
We appreciate it.
I suck it in.
See you
Every time I
later.
try to breathe, it like goes in, like I suck it in or something. It's weird.
Mr. Mayor.
What did I let myself get talked into?
Sounds great.
All right. I tell you what, let's just knock off for today. Let's have a picnic. Let's go up into the hills.
We're both elected. You know
We're
what I'm
left.
saying? I'll just not.
That's what's important.
Like, how are they gonna do that at the bar? Leanne and Stacy already put out a thing on the chipper that said we aren't the fucking mass police. Yes, it's required, you know, do what you feel is best. Like, basically, they're saying they don't know how they're gonna follow the laws. They can start selling mass patrols and streets figure it out. This is just weird.
Now since things are looking up, we should stop.
Man, I kind of wish I was back at the time when I was like a kid, like in the 90s, right? Early 2000s, alright. But man, these last 10 years have just been like so everybody, one way or another.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. So, once again, this is Meteorites, 1998 TV movie, and it says RIP VHS. And what I'm going to say that means is that this has been some kind of wonderful, not Ms. Wonderful, like in, you know, like computer generated or something like that.
I can subscribe.
Because these guys were into the computers long before anybody knew. And for them to put that there, I think it's a little odd. Okay. Let's jump into this. And isn't that something? We could have a movie about a meteorite. And I can have a meteorite. And nobody wants to talk about the meteorite. But, you know, that's all part of the whole thing because, see, this is priceless. I don't mean it's worth nothing. I mean, it's a big fucking deal. And so, in the silencing of my story, this is one of the biggest ones to not talk about. Tried to get that up there high enough. Yeah, here, let me give you a real shot, Adam. And I don't know if you've seen it before or not, but let me show you something. Hang on. Oops. Okay. So, a lot of people claim they have meteorites, but a meteorite won't be magnetized everywhere. So, this one has a spot over in here. Let me find it for you. I'm backwards.
I know this sounds bad and shit, but dude, I just need time for myself.
Magnetized, but not everywhere. See? There's another meteorite, or a magnetized place on the meteorite.
Does that make sense?
But what's amazing, Adam,
I just need to
is it has changed and developed. It's never... Oh, look. See, I knew she was going to take that video. I just caught it on the end. I guess I can take my arrow down, right? So what blows my mind is the face. Eye, nose, mouth. And isn't that the most beautiful amber kind of a growth? It's amazing. I always think this is like the mouth, like the transformer. The black shiny is what they call mica. I mean, I just wanted to put those things together. Well, the colors, you know, most of it is like a gray slate. And in the beginning, it was all gray slate. It wasn't all of these different crystals and formations. It's like it was covered up by that gray stuff. And I've talked about it before, like some kind of a nutrient base for it. And the terrain of it wasn't so up and down back when it originally showed up. It was more just like a rectangle. And I've taken pictures of it over the years, and they've been made public. So some brilliant scientist somewhere has already put it all together. But, you know, the question is, what is something priceless worth? Is it worth somebody's life? Usually. But I'm not going to say that's how this is going to happen. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let me pull that video up. Sure, something went wrong. Video got taken down. Videos made private. So she goes on for 4 or 5 hours and harasses people and talks shit and mows the grass and gets in her pool and clogs up the airwaves and shits up the water. So weird. It's all so weird. Whoa, look at this. Doesn't this tell a million stories? What this says is authentication error. Please select a different account. Well, that's because, like I've told you guys, she's hijacked my account and she's no longer able to legally broadcast as herself. And she's assumed my identity and is playing a very psychopathically sick, destructive game. I always get a screenshot. And you know I'm not switching accounts, right? So we'll just need to wait a minute so I can get that video up. Tom sings Broadway, country, and I know Dollar Down that he sings rock and plays some heavy metal that I can't identify which band he's jumping around in. And, you know, when I started checking out these dukes, there was more than one Bo and more than one Luke. These guys came in as special stuntsmen, and I could see both of them doing that as teenagers, especially Scott. Long story, but like I said, now I've identified two people that I got told these fake stories that they were dead. And growing up in a place like St. Louis, I get needing to get out of here. And I get going into the service and doing the military thing and doing the rock thing and doing all these things that young men are initiated into that women, you know, aren't necessarily. We're not really the target, right?
Maybe I'll try eye contact. No, eye contact, I feel like a creep. Maybe it'll be over soon, then I can know that.
What is this?
I just jagged a hitch. I did it again. Who was the first woman to put a dick in her mouth?
This is called the Blowjob Song. Garfunkel and Oates.
If a hipster comes on someone's face, does he make it in a figure eight like little cum glasses? Pearl Vision, I wanna make you feel good. Stopping now would feel kind of wrong. I wanna make you feel good. But only if
The Hair Emporium had 5 locations in 30 years. The third location was a Pearl Glasses Vision Center eyeglasses.
oh my God, stop thinking about my dad.
And this has been part of the experimentation that they needed to test on my mind. It's not really mind control. It's more giving you puzzles and then
36 years old and I've forgotten one moment.
having to go through it in a public manner. And then they can collect the dopey data off that. Okay, so I'm allowed to use my channel again. Isn't that wide of them? It's mighty wide of them. You know, like when you're wanting to say to somebody, you know, oh, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty wide of you. Okay.
God, I'm so sick of myself. I need to talk to my therapist about why I talk so much. Am I scared of something? Yes, Miss Coleman. Yes, Miss Coleman. Yes, Miss Coleman. Yes, Miss Coleman. Miss Coleman.
That's life. That's what all the people say.
That's just what he sounds like, too. I'm not saying it is. Okay. Let me go see who it is.
I said that's life. And as funny as it may seem.
Yep. This is Frank's Enterprises.
Stopping on a dream. But I don't let it get me down.
Okay. this is the most recent thing, and it's 3 weeks ago, which gives me hope that I'm not, completely bonkers, right? But it was funny. There's one of the videos where, of course, it's just like SKMI when he's joking about Elvis. Pastor Bob doesn't age, but Scotty Moore does. So you had Bo saying about Luke, dude, I mean, you've aged hard. That was the doppelganger. This is the real one. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on this show 3 weeks ago. And here's what it says. As a kid, I was literally glued to the show, The Dukes of Hazzard. It was on past my bedtime, but somehow I managed to be able to watch. This was an exciting time in my life, getting to interview Tom Wopat. Of course, we were doing a silly show at the time, and I appreciate Tom being such a good sport, as I was obviously being an insane person, which of course was the point. Thanks, Tom, for being amazing and being a big part of shaping my childhood. And thank you, everyone, for watching and subscribing to this channel. Love you all. Tom. Whether that's Tom Green or Tom Wopat, it could be Tom Cruise for all we know. That was a joke.
We are very fortunate to have with us a special guest. He's in town performing in a Broadway musical, Annie, Get Your Gun. But you might remember him from this show. You got the next one coming? There ain't gonna be a next one. Put him down. Roscoe, don't shoot!
See, there's two of them. He threw one and one was running. The dimples, the build, the face, the little glimmer in the eyes. The lip.
This is unbelievable. Yes? I mean, when I was 10 years old.
Does it work now? What works? Wait, what part works? What doesn't work?
I was just too young. When I was 10, I couldn't watch Dukes. I had to sneak down.
You think you're funny.
And, it was crazy, but it's just so weird for me to meet you.
And I'm going to have this guy telling himself that he doesn't know me from a hole in the wall.
I'm working with Bernadette Peters, and she's fabulous. I don't want to ask all these Dukes of Hazzard.
How's Bernadette Peters so young in this?
You were Bob, right? I was Luke.
Mr. Sample, what are you asking me if it works or not? Inquiring minds need to know.
It's just so embarrassing because I was sure you were Bob. It's the vegetable talk. I was so sure you were Bob. And how do you get your gun? Do you ever want to just sort of stop and just start singing? Just like, no, we don't do that too much. I actually did some shows.
My account? Well, I'll answer that when they're done. Thank you for clarifying your question.
You actually have your own website. Yeah. It's my fan club. My fan club. You have a website. It's woolpat.com. I was looking into it, and I noticed that you actually.
I think somebody's been having a bet.
Sure, yeah. And there's a slogan on the hats. Just say whoa. Just say whoa.
Just say whoa.
They said just say no. They just said just say whoa. We actually were thinking that maybe we came up with a new slogan that maybe we could do for your website. Sure. If you'd like to try it out. Okay. I'm going to need the audience's help with this, though. Okay? When I say whoa, you give me your hand. Okay? Come over here with me. When I say whoa, I want everybody in the audience to say Pat. Okay? This could be the new slogan. When I say whoa, you say Pat. Whoa, Pat. Whoa, Phantom seizure. I know what's going on. I got lost and I farted inside the suit. My pleasure. Coming soon. Stay tuned. Thanks, Tom.
So, my channel. It is invisible and hijacked. I can see it. That's what they call mirrored. So, a long time ago, when they first hacked in with the team viewer and using the back door, and Mel at CCN was going to scrub every one of my videos. That was when I used my time as wisely as I could and made my own copy of the shows, because not only am I out $7,000, but the harassment and the character assassination and the hacking of the social security card and the banking stuff, and every time I've done a video over the last 4 days, I lose subs. You know what? I didn't get into this shit for subs, but for somebody to take my subs and make money on my content and call it clickbait and prostitute it. See, and that's why, Mr. Sample, that from the beginning I had to believe that my stuff was protected, because this really happened 4 years ago. And I get it that everybody's busy and has things going on. But if we're talking about national security, which is basically what I've been talking about, and a lot of other things, it's so stupid, it's unbelievable. And whether you make up a lie about me to people and tell them I'm drunk, or that I had a weight reduction surgery and this isn't my real body, or that my face got glued to something on Pornhub. I mean, it's so hateful and disappointing that you just wonder really what happened to humanity, you know, like when you go through the whole thing and look at it. But in my mind, see, if you think about your first kiss or your first love, or the first time that, you know, you did that thing you do called love, why would men break off into two groups? And they'd be the ones that would defend, and then the ones that would be even all the way up high in the government and be involved in all this, like this George Webb crap. I'm telling you, that's that damn Charlie Varg. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm in every relationship that I ever had. And I know the computer is 6 degrees of separation. And it is weird, like we talked about. It is confusing. And life is multidimensional, and we know that's true. So You know, that movie, Across the Universe, and it's all Beatles music, but it's like set in a wartime thing. It's almost, well, kind of like time travel-ish or jump in different dimensions. It's a pretty good movie if you dig the Beatles. And of course I cry when I watch it, but that's neither here nor there. So this Scott, oh my God, he was so ass kicking tough. And, that was the first time I ever saw that kind of behavior in a young man. And of course, I was just becoming a young woman. And we only shared a moment in time, but to follow his whole story, he would be every bit of what this Tom acts out on TV. And he would also be the one that did the stunts. There were multiples. So we're back into the Elvis story or any of these stories that we've discussed. And, just like Sandro, I mean, he had his doppelgangers that sang, and he had his doppelgangers that pretty much did the acting in the movies. And they were able to punch one guy's voice in, and you see another guy's performing it. Maybe that's the big reveal with technology, for people to realize that these douchebags doing these screenshots, that ain't shit. And then you have to realize they're going to catch them, which, makes me happy. It's like I've tried to explain about Bo Duke. If you go and check out his music, he's more like country and Christmas songs and kind of like that little kid at heart that is like the Pied Piper, whereas, well, they're each different, but it was amazing to see John Snyder's movies where he turns into like the Incredible Hulk dude. If he's tracking down a serial killer or a rapist or something like that, his movies are very weird. And he kept saying, my movies don't suck. It's like, well, all right, man. But, both of them claim that we watched them grow up our whole lives. And of course, I didn't watch Smallville, and I'm back in naughty kid class, and no, I didn't know Tom Wopat was a Broadway star, and then I'm trying to imagine Scott Meyer, like singing on Broadway, but these two are a family. I'm not saying that their bloodline's the same. I'm saying they're a family and they have some kind of a family business. And I believe they're the ones that protected all my content. And I think when Tom's saying he's got some website, that's where they protected it all, and everybody's going to go, yay, and everything's going to be fine. But it's a fucking nightmare. Imagining the anger and frustration of these guys, and then whatever happened to them, like, undercover serving their country or doing whatever they do. I don't know what they do. All I know is that other Tom Wopat says he's 62, and Scott Meyer was in 8th grade and I was in 7th grade, so it didn't take a rocket scientist to plug that in and to say, well, that's why this one looks so young compared to the other one. You know, each year makes a lot of difference the older we get, let's say. This Bo, well, he couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years older. So to me, he suits that timeline. And, you know, originally I thought one of the Elvi's son was born in 1960. So I think it's like what we've seen with all the avatars and these accounts that are made up. Obviously, if you know how to get around the computer, you could have a dozen avatars that are yours, and you could zip around and say you're this guy and this chick and even this inanimate avatar. And that's why I said I think we really need to at least come to terms with the realization that they can put those characters, avatars, personalities. Don't tell me the national fucking security yahoos or whoever they are wouldn't have that at their fingertips. It's ridiculous to think they wouldn't. If they can get away with doing to my account what's been done as a pre-planned meditative event, premeditated, then nobody would have any hope. Then I know it doesn't seem like there's a lot of hope. And so that's where it's been kind of hard for me to walk a line and to know that there's reality on both sides of the line, and to know that every day through my choices, it progresses things along. If I would have never said anything about Bob Joyce or the whole Elvis thing and his service to the country and how it relates to Trump, well, we surely never could have got to this point either. And, you know, right now with Kanye West running for president, well, a statesman would have surely way more of a chance, right? But more what I see is the whole acceleration of this black-white dance, because who in their right mind would think Kanye could be president, especially if they remember when he had that meltdown and they did whatever they did to him. But when he was released from the hospital, he had that canary yellow hair, his fro, and he was like a half-wit. I don't know. I love having someone that I can explore it with, and that it's a person that is capable of processing data. I have no interest in idiots chiming in. And of course, they've made it their point to at every turn. I'm so tired of these people speaking for me and hiding behind fake names. And I'm even tireder of the men that are just into the sexual harassment of the whole thing. And then, I think, my God, there's still got to be real men that don't tolerate that, but, you know, things have been so hard on everybody. But see, broke blue mom, we are these MK Ultra kids all grown up, and that's why a few nights ago I termed it the revenge of the MK Ultra kids, because I've been reviewing my friends. I don't mean in any judgmental manner, but I don't think that my friends that went to public school, which would have been Riverview Gardens, they're not really in these groups. I don't know why they would hit the private schools. We saw such weird things. Like the Scott story. I mean, I come there in 7th grade. He tells one of my friends, hey, bring her. I want to meet her. We smoke a cigarette behind the dumpster up at the school. He comes over the next day. And like I told you, I mean, it was just that one day. And then the next day, all the 8th grade girls are writing whore and slut on my locker for getting kissed from the coolest boy at Grace Chapel. It's fucked up, and at the same time, that was such a weird school because it's a bunch of good kids, whatever that means. And my best friend, and I've told this story before, but they used to get her at recess and do things to her. And I don't mean anything sexual. They would throw her like, the kind of sewer grates that would be 6 feet down, like a big water thing, would catch the runoff from the gutters at the school, I guess. And they would throw her in there so she'd be late to come back to school after recess, And then she'd say to me, looking up at me from them fucking bars, saying, get me out of here. And then all these kids are threatening to throw me down there if I help her. And, that goes back to the idea of why, even though she was kind of fucked up and crazy, I did give her a job at the hair emporium, because at least at that time I could help her. Where as a kid starting this school, I really couldn't help her. And I think this goes back a lot to the problem with how people feel about being bullied or being bullies. But the MK Ultra thing, you got to realize geographically they worked with people differently. So whether it's Joe or whether it's like, Randy's friend Emily, see, they would involve more geographically focused sports. So Emily and Joe have the same story about they can hold their breath underwater longer than anybody else. And Joe's got a gill and yickety squack. But that wasn't my group. And so they really did look for our specialties and our high points. And what they say happened here in St. Louis is that we were put through exercises that always let us know we were being dropped into a war zone. And if you think about being desegregated, I mean, you know, forced desegregation, which they say that the brothers didn't want, and then the honkies didn't even know it was coming, which is why the parents freaked out, I guess. But to think about it, that would have only been 3 or 4 years until some big racial unrest thing popped off. And the other night it kind of struck me as odd to think how fast. Oh, I know what it is. All right. My client's coming. I'm going to have to go, but I'm going to tell this story real quick. There's a lot of reasons why I've been targeted and our family in the whole history. So, a long time ago, my dad was receiving death threats, and you guys already probably got it figured out that I have excellent hearing, and I can hear more than one thing at any given time. So I had positioned myself where I could hear my dad talking on the phone, and they were going to sue him also. And what had happened was he was called to a robbery at a 7-Eleven, like a quick shop. And it was a grandmother, granddaughter tag team. When my dad got in there and things were popping off, the little one, the grandkid, which wasn't like a 4 or 5-year-old, think bigger, 9, 10, 11, something like that, came flying onto him like, I don't know if the kid jumped on a shelf or just was a fucking super freak and jumped straight up in the air. I don't know. But the kid came down on my dad and she bit my dad. Now, that story was printed in a hostile paper that's very popular here in St. Louis called the American Newspaper. And what I did was that, I snuck into my dad's briefcase because I wanted to read the article. And I was old enough, and you guys already know my personality, so I read the newspaper article. But the biggest lie they told was that my dad slammed this girl down. But if you're getting bit and you're a big cop, I mean, even if you're You know, a fat, dorky little kid cop in a man body. I don't know. You know, he put her off, and the woman, grandma, was swinging at him, and he grabbed her arm. Now, the picture that was in the paper was a very dark-skinned black woman with black spots on her arms, not like just a hand, like, you know, like my dad grabbed her here and you could see those prints. The arm was spotted, and she was a diabetic and she was old and she had age spots. The case never went to trial, but the death threats went on for some years, and now looking back, I can see why I was raised in a double locked compound. You know, I mean, you didn't just lock the door one time. Get back. Sit down and spray the bottom of your shoe. All right. I gotta go be a bitch and do some hair. Yeah, Adam, I'm leaving. I'm going upstairs and doing hair. But I think we have a nice new friend, Adam, this broke blue mom. We'll see. All right. Take care, guys. Hey, I got bigger fish to fry, sweetheart. Talk soon.